This woman was happily dancing just a moment ago, but in the next second, her husband slapped her hard across the face. Under everyone's judgmental stares, she had no choice but to retreat back to her room in humiliation. Her mother came over, and instead of comforting her, told her that every marriage has its arguments and she should just endure it. Then her mother-in-law showed up as well and blamed her, insisting she go downstairs to protect her husband's reputation. Everyone seemed more concerned about the man's image than her feelings, and not a single person offered her comfort. The woman's name was Jenny. Many women actually envied her married life. Her husband, Jack, was a senior executive at a large company. He was handsome, high-earning, and very successful. They lived in a beautiful house and even had household staff. Although her mother-in-law lived with them, she was unusually kind and reasonable on the surface, treating Jenny like her own daughter. Jenny's daily life was highly structured. Every day at 5 a.m., she would get up as soon as the alarm rang. She would quickly turn it off so she wouldn't wake her husband. Then she would go out to pick up the newspaper and milk. After that, she would start preparing breakfast for the whole family. She would carefully check her diabetic mother-in-law's blood sugar and adjust her meals accordingly for the day. Once everything was done, she would bring a cup of coffee into the bedroom and gently wake her husband. She made sure everything was ready for him. If he was running late, she would even rush out and feed him a few bites on the go. Her husband had become extremely dependent on her, and Jenny genuinely enjoyed the feeling of being needed. She used to be a girl who loved dancing. She had even won multiple awards in competitions, but she gave it all up willingly to focus on taking care of the family full-time. She never thought of herself as anyone's supporting role. Instead, she took pride in keeping the household perfectly organized and running smoothly. She believed this was the perfect life she had always wanted, but what she didn't realize was that this sense of value, built entirely on satisfying others, is actually extremely fragile. That day, thinking her husband was about to get promoted, Jenny threw a grand party for him at home. At the party, guests encouraged Jenny to perform a dance. As soon as the music started, she danced gracefully in the center of the living room. In that moment, she seemed to become the confident, radiant girl she once was, instantly drawing everyone's attention. Jack looked at her with pride and deep satisfaction. Her performance made him feel very proud. Just when the atmosphere was at its peak, Jack's phone rang. He stepped aside to take the call, and the smile on his face quickly disappeared. The call was from a senior executive at his company. In that instant, he felt like he had been fooled and made a complete fool of himself. He immediately rushed over to his superior and demanded to know whether they had known about the situation in advance. The two quickly got into a heated argument. Jack completely lost control of his emotions. Seeing things escalate, Jenny instinctively ran over to pull her husband away, but in his rage, he slapped her across the face. The entire party fell silent in an instant. Jenny stood frozen in place, holding her face, her mind completely blank. What made it even harder to accept was that both her father-in-law and her own father were present and witnessed everything. Yet none of them stood up for her. Countless eyes were fixed on her. She felt as if her dignity had been trampled underfoot. Dragging her heavy feet, she slowly walked through the crowd and made her way back upstairs, step by step. The party ended in complete awkwardness and silence. Jenny sat alone in the dark living room, waiting for her husband to come and explain himself. She didn't even need a long explanation. All she needed was a guilty look or a simple "I'm sorry." But in the end, she got nothing at all. Late at night, she pushed open the bedroom door and found that her husband was already asleep. Apparently, in his mind, everything that had happened that night didn't matter at all. The next morning, Jenny still got up at 5 a.m., as usual, to prepare breakfast. She kept going through the motions of being the perfect wife. Jack got up and walked over to Jenny. He didn't apologize. Instead, he started complaining about the company. He also complained about the person who took his position. He kept explaining why he had been so angry the day before, but he never mentioned the fact that he had hit her. He thought he had been treated unfairly at work, so it was understandable to let off steam at home. He even thought Jenny should understand and comfort him, but Jenny just listened in silence. She was waiting for him to say he was sorry, but those words never came. Then Jack held her arm, acting all clingy, and asked what people would think of him. From that moment on, Jenny's heart had died. She still prepared his things for work, but her smile was gone. Over the next few days, Jenny looked calm on the outside, but inside, she was bleeding. One day, Jack came home from work as usual. When he saw Jenny's suitcase in the living room, he froze. His first reaction was to blame her. He said Jenny had no idea how much he was suffering or what he was going through. But Jenny told him she wanted to stay at her parents' house for a few days. She said she didn't feel good in that house either. Jack wasn't worried about Jenny. He was worried about what to tell his mother. He still didn't apologize. He didn't even ask why she was upset. In the end, Jenny said nothing more and left the home she had once built with so much care. She went back to her parents' house. Her mother's first question was whether they had made up. In her mother's generation, once a woman married, her husband's home was her home. When problems came, you endured, you didn't leave. Her father, though, could see the hurt in her eyes. He didn't ask anything. He just quietly made her a cup of coffee. After leaving her husband's house, Jenny felt alive again. She could sleep in. Her mother cooked for her. She played chess with her father. She could tend to her flowers again. Here, she wasn't a wife or a daughter-in-law. She was just herself. Without Jenny at home, Jack's life was a complete mess. He had to read the manual just to check his mother's blood sugar. He kept forgetting things. Only Jenny knew all his habits. The maid and his mother were both flustered. The chaos finally got to him. A few days later, he went to his father-in-law's house to take Jenny back and get things in order. He brought an expensive diamond necklace. He believed a pricey gift would make her forgive him. But when Jenny saw the necklace, her face only grew colder. Jack said he was there to take her home. Jenny refused. Then Jack, absurdly, told her to slap him in return, to make things even. But Jenny said her parents never taught her that, and she wouldn't do it. That remark enraged Jack. He felt she was mocking his upbringing. They parted on bad terms. Jack thought if Jenny wouldn't come back, he'd force her. He hired a lawyer and sent Jenny a formal legal notice. It demanded she restore conjugal rights. In India, that was actually a real law. If a wife left home without a valid reason, her husband could use the law to force her back. When Jenny received the notice, she knew there was no turning back. So she hired a well-known lawyer in the field of women's rights, Layla. After hearing Jenny's story, Layla asked a series of routine questions. She thought it was hard to believe that Jenny would divorce over just one slap. When Layla confirmed that the only reason Jenny wanted a divorce was that single slap, even she was surprised, because it exposed a harsh reality, how little women's dignity mattered in this society. Even a lawyer who fought for women's rights every day subconsciously thought that divorcing over one slap seemed a bit extreme. Jenny looked at her calmly and said firmly, she had once been happy to be part of her husband's dreams and life, but she never expected that during that time, she had become someone who got slapped in the face. That statement deeply moved Layla because it reminded her of her own inequality in marriage. Her husband outwardly supported her career, but always hinted in front of others that her success was only because of him. At that moment, she truly understood Jenny. When the news of Jenny's divorce spread, it caused conflict in her own family. Her younger brother in particular was furious when he found out. He blamed her and said she was wrong, that divorcing over one slap wasn't worth it. But this time, no one could change her mind. Jenny was determined to get a divorce. She believed that if there was one slap, there would be more and worse ones to come. When Jack saw that Jenny was serious about divorce, he started to panic. His old-fashioned mindset couldn't accept being the man abandoned by his wife. Following his lawyer's advice, he began using dirty tactics. First, he spread rumors that Jenny was leaving him because he had lost his London job and that she was afraid he had no future, so she wanted to take his money. Then he reached out to guests from the party that night, trying to get them to give false testimony, to claim Jenny had hit him first, turning his abuse into a mutual fight. Finally, he froze all of Jenny's bank accounts, trying to pressure her into giving up on the divorce. Facing all these shameless moves, Jenny didn't fight back. She didn't even fight for money. When Layla drafted the divorce agreement, Jenny had only one request. She didn't want Jack's house or his money. All she wanted was respect and fairness. While they were still at a standstill, Jenny unexpectedly found out she was pregnant. The news made her waver. In the end, she decided to tell Jack, because somewhere deep down, she still held a faint hope that this child might change Jack's attitude. Jack was thrilled when he heard Jenny was pregnant. He quickly mapped out the next few years of their lives. The child became just another project in his perfect life plan. That reaction made Jenny's heart sink completely. He didn't care at all about what Jenny thought. When he noticed she wasn't wearing her wedding ring, he flew into a rage, and then he said the most hurtful words to her. She believed that if she stayed in this house, it would ruin all three of their lives. That day, they sat down for one final negotiation. Jack's lawyer formally laid out the terms. He agreed to the divorce and was willing to pay a large sum of alimony. But there was one condition. Jenny had to give up full custody of their child. He was trying to use money to cut her off from the child. Jenny looked at the man she had once loved deeply and felt she didn't even recognize him anymore. She rejected his condition. She told the lawyer she was willing to share custody, but she would never trade her child's custody in a deal, and she wouldn't let anyone think she was at fault in this divorce just because of money. That day, her mother-in-law held a blessing ceremony for the unborn child. Jenny went to say her final goodbye to the family. During the ceremony, she held her mother-in-law's hand and finally said what she had been holding in for so long. She recalled how she used to wonder why her mother had agreed to the marriage. She couldn't even do basic housework. And what had Jack seen in her? In her heart, even if she wasn't the best dancer, she could still be a devoted housewife. She had believed her mother-in-law truly liked her. But after that party, she finally understood. Her mother-in-law only liked her as a daughter-in-law. She also mentioned that after the slap, everyone told her to endure it. But no one had ever told Jack that he shouldn't have hit his wife. Her words left everyone in the room silent. Her mother-in-law teared up and blamed herself. She said it wasn't Jenny's fault at all. It was their fault as parents. They had never taught their son not to hit a woman. Jenny's Jenny's mother was also at fault for only telling her to endure and stay quiet. Her mother-in-law respected Jenny's final decision. Her husband sat in shame, silent and reflecting. But what truly made Jack wake up was when he went to thank his boss after being promoted and apologized for what had happened earlier. His boss told him he should never hit his wife. Even if he was angry at his superiors, he would never hit them. His wife's tears and his father-in-law's rage hadn't made him reflect, but one criticism from his boss made him truly start to think, had he really been wrong? Before the trial officially began, Jack approached Jenny on his own. He stood in front of her, for the first time without arrogance, excuses, or complaints. He admitted that he should never have hit her, and that no one has that right. He finally realized the problem was his own, and he said, "I'm sorry." But Jenny had waited too long for that apology. Her love had worn thin. Although their marriage couldn't be saved, at least it could end with a little dignity. Jenny looked at him calmly and accepted his apology. They eventually settled the divorce peacefully, agreeing to share custody of the child. Her lawyer, Layla, also finally found the courage to divorce her own husband, who had been mentally putting her down. Jenny walked alone in the sunshine. She had lost a marriage, but she had won back herself. The look on her face was one of calm and freedom she had never known before.